Welcome to your first meeting of 2021 of the governing body here in the city of Topeka. At this point in time, we would like to pay attention to Councilman Mike Padilla for the invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Even if you're home, could you please rise if you're able?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everybody for allowing me to introduce Father Raymond May. He's the parochial administrator of Our Lady Guadalupe Church in Topeka, Kansas. Father May was born in Little Rock, Arkansas, and was raised for the greater part of his first years in Topeka, Kansas. He went on to live not only in Topeka, but also in Aurora, Oswego, and Plano, Illinois, and in Clinton, Mississippi. He went to Shawnee Heights High School, from which he graduated in 1984. During his time in high school, he earned a pilot's license at Air Explorer Post 8 at Billard Airport. After high school, he attended Benedictine College in Atchison, Kansas, earning a bachelor's degree in astronomy and physics. After college, he entered the seminary and was ordained a priest in 1993. He has served in Kansas City, Topeka, Emporia, and in St. Mary's in Rossville. This is his second time serving at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish in Topeka. His parents and his 4 brothers and their wives and children all live in Topeka also. So, Father, welcome to the City Council, and thank you for bringing that invocation for us. You're on mute, Father. Father, you're on mute.
Got it.
There you go.
Okay. Let us pray. God of power and might, wisdom and justice, we ask you to guide these council members with a spirit of counsel and fortitude. May they always seek the ways of righteousness, justice, and mercy. May they experience your protection and your guidance in all things, and may they do what is truly right for this community. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Father. Now we pass on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Are we going to have the flags displayed? Oh, there we go. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which
one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. We now proceed to the roll call.
Mayor De La Isla,
Here.
Council Members Hiller,
Here.
Valdivia Acala,
Here.
Ortiz,
Here.
Emerson,
Here.
Padilla,
Here.
Nager,
Here.
Dobler,
Here.
Duncan,
Here.
and Lesser.
Here.
We have 10 present.
All right, we move on to the appointments. I'm sorry, I was talking, it was on mute. We move on to the appointments if the clerk would read.
Item 2A is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Paul Miller to the Board of Plumbing Examiners for a term ending December 31st, 2022. Second item is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Dave Krug to the City of Topeka Board of Electrical Appeals for a term ending December 31st, 2022. Item C is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Sean Smith to the City of Topeka Board of Electrical Appeals for a term ending December 31st, 2022. Item D is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Steve Mohan to the Board of Building and Fire Appeals for a term ending December 31st, 2022. And item E is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Keith Finney to the Board of Building and Fire Appeals for a term ending December 31st, 2022.
All right, we have a motion for approval by Councilman Dobler. Do we have a second? Second by Councilwoman Nager. At this point in time, the mayor does not vote. Are there any comments or questions with regards to the appointments? Seeing none, we proceed with the vote.
Council members Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Alcala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Hit the right button. Yes.
and Lesser.
Yes.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes. Congratulations to all of the individuals that are appointed to serve in our community boards. At this point, we move on to the presentations. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Nicola Saunders here tonight to present and representing the City of Topeka Sustainability Advisory Board, giving their 2019 and 20 report. Nicola?
Nicola, congratulations to your husband on his birthday today.
Thank you very much. Thank you also for getting us in so early in the year. We had hoped to have this report ready for you before now, but with everything that's happened, this is where we are. So I think I can share my screen here, and I think you've received the report and also the slides that I'll be sharing.
We see it.
Okay, oops. I should have hit the present button first, I think. Let's see. There we go. That looks right now. Sorry about this. I'm not sure why it's not, there we go. Not sure why it's not advancing. Oh my gosh, it's at the end. Pardon me. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'd like you to, just in case you don't remember, you appoint the members of the Sustainability Advisory Board. Each of us serves a 2-year term. There are a few folks on the board right now, Mary Powell and Deborah Swank, who are serving their 4th term. Leilani Gray, who's co-president with me, is in her 1st term, as is Benjamin Reed, who is a biology professor at Washburn University, and Bessie Tolbert, who is a master gardener and retiree. Also in their 2nd terms right now are Clyde Schwenke and Casey Williams. And I am also in my 2nd term. We also have staff representatives who are sort of ex officio members, I guess, who can contribute knowledge about what's going on within departments and help us coordinate a lot of the work that actually you'll see in this report. So I want to shout out to Sylvan Coles in the Utilities Water Department, Dennis Dinwiddie at Topeka Zoo, Joe Wimmer, who used to work for our utilities, and Patty Jo Ham, who keeps us organized. She's in Public Works. So without all of these folks, none of what you're about to hear would exist right now, because the board voted on the report that we submitted to you. Everyone approved that report. So, and I just want to say a few things to preface this a little bit. We know that the climate crisis or climate change, or however you personally understand the environment, we know that Topeka and the city of Topeka can't solve the challenges on our own. No matter what actions the governing body chooses to take, we know that on our own we can't do this alone. So I want you to know we make these recommendations in the spirit of collaboration, and whatever support or research or just kind of moral support and energy we can provide, we want to. So we know that the city could probably do more to celebrate and explain the successes that we have had and are having in relation to sustainability efforts. And there's a lot of examples in this report to that end, specifically the methane capture upgrades and the award-winning biosolids program at the Oakland wastewater treatment plant, lime slurry stabilizer for alley surfacing projects, native plants and roundabouts. It's a pretty long list, really. We encourage you to consider every decision through the lens of environmental impact. And you've heard me speak at budget meetings about the need for staff time to be devoted to sustainability efforts. Also, we know that the city has a lot of resources in terms of community education, and we'd like to partner, if possible, with City 4 or the city's Facebook page or things like that to help get the word out more in terms of both the actions that the city is taking and the actions that individual households can take to promote environmental sustainability. We would like to see the city take courageous action toward no emission sustainable vehicle fleet. And there are 3 starting points that we identified with the help of staff. The vehicle replacement fund, automatic vehicle location devices that could reduce idling, and effectively allocating resources in the trip chain kind of model might be some places to start in reducing emissions. We also want to just kind of bring to everyone's attention that in 2010, the city adopted a plan to reduce energy consumption by 10% by 2020. But unfortunately, that wasn't properly tracked until just starting in, I think it was kind of the middle of 2018, if I'm remembering right. So we don't have as much data as we need to see if we actually made that mark. So we'd encourage the adoption of new targets, and we do applaud the start of the tracking. There's a dashboard sort of in the works, and that information is being tracked now. So we're excited about that and what might be possible. And we recommend increasing alternative energy use, such as grid-tied solar panels on city facilities. We did some research, and you'll see this on pages 3 and 4 of the report that was submitted on some peer cities, just to see what they're doing in terms of sustainability. And we know that 6 of those peer cities have joined an organization called Climate Mayors. Another 6 have at least one FTE sustainability coordinator listed in their staff directory or on their sustainability website. And there are 3 others that have designated teams or point people within each department and are coordinating in that way. So we just wanted to share that research with you. I'm not going to read this whole list. This is huge. But this shows just some of the things that the city is doing related to sustainability efforts. I mentioned the biosolids program earlier, 1,980 metric tons of biosolids used as fertilization on 654 acres of farmland in the area. And that's an award-winning program that I don't think the average Topekan could tell you even exists. But the folks who get as much produce as they can locally sourced are benefiting from that program, for example. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about in terms of getting the word out. We know that LED city-owned streetlights have been converted to LED. Several city facilities have been converted to LED. All of that makes a difference in terms of the need for energy. And it's over the long run, I'm sure City Manager Traub could speak to this more than I can, but over the long term, that's going to save the city quite a bit of money as well. And also I would like to thank the departments that actually took the time to prepare reports for us. A lot of them took time to submit email, helped us figure out specifically what they were working on now, what they sort of want to be working on, and it's in the hopper. That kind of stuff really helps us understand when we're hearing from folks at our monthly meetings, we have different experts in different areas often come speak to our group. Last month, we had the CEO of the Giving Grove, for example, just to learn more about what's going on around us and what opportunities we might be able to kind of bring to Topeka. So without the help of the city staff, that stuff wouldn't have, the speakers that we hear from wouldn't have the same amount of local context for us. So, and all of this is in the report as well, all of these numbers. So the report is broken out into these sections as well. And what I really want to do is just go over the recommendations in each of these areas. And it's in the same order in your report if you're looking at that. So in regard to water, we recommend the continued implementation of advanced meter infrastructure system, the technology to mitigate the health risks from microplastics, pharmaceuticals, and farming chemicals are needed. Related to food, Topeka continues to experience the consequences of large food deserts. We continue to recommend the council explore incentives to encourage groceries to locate in underserved neighborhoods, as well as support for community gardens in vacant lots. Related to shelter, we applaud the establishment of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the recent housing study. We look forward to more adoption of the International Energy Conservation Code provisions where possible. Related to energy, we applaud the city's LED streetlight conversion as well as conversion to LED of 11 city facilities. It's crucial that new energy use targets be set and tracking continue in the wake of staff turnover. Related to waste management, we recommend greater collaboration with the county on public education regarding single stream recycling. The board recommends and looks forward to collaborating with you on single-use plastic ban on bags, straws, as several cities have already done. Related to transportation, we recommend continued implementation of the Complete Streets and Bikeways master plans. We support a levy increase for Topeka Metro to prevent service cuts and fare increases. We encourage the purchase of electric cars as the fleet is replaced. And I'd just like to say, just like cities all over the world right now are facing a lot of unexpected change, transit is in the same boat. And so I'd just like to encourage you to remember that. Related to green space, we recommend caring for existing investments. Specifically, there were a lot of trees planted over the summer, and not in some cases, some of those trees couldn't be watered as regularly as is necessary to sort of maintain the investment of that tree. So we'd like to see the continued use of native plants in city projects and only non-neonicotinoid pesticide treated plants because of the damage that the alternative pesticides with the neonicotinoid can do to the bee population. We recommend planning for the delayed tree inventory as well. Related to public education, this board recommends increasing public education through social media or City4 content regarding current sustainability efforts and the reasons for them, and welcome the opportunity to collaborate. Related to public health, the 2017 Topeka Neighborhood Health Study can help Topeka begin to address the health effects of climate change, identified by several medical associations as a public health emergency. The CDC's Healthy Communities programs offer a framework. I'd like to answer any questions you might have and encourage you to join us for one of our meetings or all of our meetings. We typically meet on First Friday mornings via Zoom right now, but because First Friday was the first, we're meeting this Friday at 8 a.m.
Any questions for Mikola? Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala.
Sorry, forgot how to do the unmute. Mikola, thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to offer a small glimmer of hope here. Since last year, before COVID-19 struck, I'd been working with some neighbors here in Oakland about starting up a community garden with the intent of understanding that in some ways we are a food desert, in other ways we kind of aren't, but trying to get the collaboration together where folks start getting to know each other more, growing their own produce, sharing that produce with elders in the community, et cetera. COVID definitely put a damper on everything, but we started up having talks with the Shawnee County Parks and Recreation a couple of months ago, and we are signing off on an MOU here shortly. They have let us use a plot of land right behind the Oakland Community Center. So we're hoping, along with more neighborhood involvement, which we started getting more calls today, that we'll be kicking off a neighborhood community garden here in Oakland, February, probably end of February, probably breaking ground first part of March. So understand, Mikola, that the message definitely, penetrates out to a lot of people in the community. We know it takes a lot of work to make this happen, to not only where you have a garden, but where you have a garden where community members actually have a stake in it. And long-term planning is that we will also provide cooking classes on how to cook fresh produce there at the Oakland Community Center. So kudos to you all for the work that you continue to do. And hopefully maybe we can look at doing some things together once we get that up and moving. But thanks for all you guys do.
Thank you. I'd love to talk to you more about the Giving Grove. They're a community orchard project that started in the Kansas City area.
You know how to get hold of me. Thank you.
Hey, Councilman Duncan.
I guess this might be directed towards, city manager or staff. I know we had some talk during the last budget, and then I know it was going to come up again this budget about specifically designating some dollars for a sustainability, whatever title we wanted to give that, director, advisor, who was actually part of the staff. I know that role has been sort of filled part-time by certain staff members the last several years. Can we just get an update on where that stands today and if you've looked at that moving forward?
Right now, we've looked at with the budget situation that we had about that would be assigned to certain staff members in order to accomplish, and been looking at it since Joe Wimmer has left to take another position, finding another one or two individuals that are interested or based on the department that they're in, that they would fill in on that role. And so at this point, I'm not looking at adding a new position unless we determine that that is a priority. It would just be an assignment of duty responsibilities to someone else within the city. And Mikola and I actually had a conversation through email about that we're going to talk about some ideas related to who might be good potential fits for that.
I just had a second question. In the summary of this report, I believe it's in the summary, it indicates that in 2010, the city council, passed something or directed staff or something to that effect to monitor our energy use and activity. And it looks like that didn't really happen until maybe starting a little bit last year.
Yeah, that was.
How is that being addressed now, since it looks like it's starting to finally be addressed?
Well, it was something that happened in 2018. I got engaged with the Sustainability Commission because I had been involved in sustainability efforts in Mason City and saw what they had started and determined that that was something that hadn't been completed. And so Joe Wimmer was tasked with doing that, and he set the dashboard up. We went and looked, we made progress, but we didn't get to the goals. And so I think we need to go back and look at how far we did reach and probably look at readdressing, working with Sustainability Commission to establish some new goals and then bring it to the governing body to consider what we want to do going forward. And I know that staff's been working, she mentioned some of the things that we're working on. The other things especially that we're looking at is our fleet and making some modifications in our fleet, looking at more hybrid vehicles, especially, maybe not all electric, but at least hybrid. And I know from driving my hybrid, the vehicle that's assigned to me, it is making a difference in how much my fuel usage is next to nothing compared to what it was in the other vehicle that I had. And so I think that's a good indication of other types of jobs that used vehicles could definitely benefit from that. It's a higher cost at the front, but I think in our fuel usage, we definitely see an improvement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilman Dobler.
Thank you, Mayor. Mikola, thank you very much for the presentation. Just wanted to point out, I think you might have mentioned it and it is in the report, that utilities is getting close, probably certainly within the next 6 months or so of kicking off the biogas recovery project. For years at the Oakland wastewater treatment plant, if you drove by, you saw a flare. Something in the neighborhood of 400 cubic feet a minute of methane was just being flared to the atmosphere. That's in the process of the project's going to clean it up and put it in the pipeline. It's a huge commitment on the part of the city and utilities. I believe it's going to be the second project of that type in the state of Kansas. Not very many in the Midwest, so it puts us in the same league as Des Moines and some other kind of first-class cities like that. So just wanted to point that out. Again, something that most people don't know, but definitely puts Topeka on the cutting edge, I think, of that sustainability issue. So thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2010, I think that Vermont Energy Study had just been finished, so it was very fresh at the time. And they did have some very clear goals for both within the city itself as well as citywide. And I don't know how, maybe it's just too much citywide, but there were a lot of things that it got hung up for a while because the idea was to hire some company to come do everything at once. And that didn't happen. But over time, those light conversions have happened and the HVA systems have been changed out and so on. It would be really interesting to know, and I don't know if your 2018 restart was going back to see how far we've come, but I think it'd be interesting to know, and I think we've made some pretty good progress. So just throw that out. I have a question kind of for the public. I think Mikola knows that I got contacted by a constituent who had questions about the LED lights and so on. It was very interested in the board as well as being able to access the board or even attend a meeting. Could you share, you put the date up there, but if somebody, any of us or somebody wants to get hold of the board with an idea or a question or to get involved, how would they do that? If you could share that.
Sure. The best way to get a hold of us, since we don't have a point person right now with the city, is probably to email. And I'm happy to share my email address, mikolaRsaunders@gmail.com. We're working on setting up a Gmail for the board. But we don't have that right now.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize it was that complicated actually, but that's good to know. City manager, I think it's helpful for all these boards to at least have one point of contact that they can count on and that we can. Thank you for your work. I really appreciate our advocacy boards and the fact that you all take the time to look into issues and do these reports and make the recommendations. And this one was great, so thank you.
And we do have a Facebook page. It's Green Topeka. It's our Facebook page.
Councilwoman Nager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Saunders, for your excellent presentation. I'm really interested in getting to know more about this. It might be just because I finished the Greta Thunberg book, which is very direct, But I am very excited about what Topeka has been doing. But as somebody who has not gotten to spend as much time on the earth so far, I'm really looking forward to Topeka doing more in the future to make sure that we're doing our part, and maybe some other people's part, to make sure that we're keeping our practices here as green as possible. Thank you again.
Additional comments or questions for Ms. Saunders? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much for this presentation. We now
Thank you
move
very
on to
much.
the consent agenda. If the clerk would read.
Item 4A are the minutes of the regular meeting of December 15th, 2020. And item B is applications. A list of cereal malt beverage and dance hall license applications was distributed via email this afternoon. Staff is recommending approval. And that is all for the consent agenda.
Move approval. Mayor, you're muted.
Councilwoman Hiller makes the motion. Councilwoman Ortiz seconds the motion. Are there comments or questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we proceed by the vote.
Mayor Jayla Isla,
Yes.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Lesser.
Yes.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the consent agenda passes. We have one action item, if the clerk would read.
Item 5A is a charter ordinance introduced by City Manager Brent Trout amending City of Topeka Charter Ordinance Number 69, Section 2, TMC A15-16, Section 4, TMC A15-18, Section 6, TMC A15-20, and Charter Ordinance Number 116, Section 1, TMC A15-17.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't add too much. Would let Chair Duncan for TGT cover this item if he would like, or I can, whichever.
Chair Duncan.
Sure, I can give the simple rundown. The very short version is it really gets us in compliance with state law. That was the big thing here. We didn't overreach beyond that. And the two big things are we had to add what they call, I believe, an accommodation broker. We had to understand what that definition was a few times in committee, but it essentially defines multiple properties if you have 2 or more rooms. Also, the City of Topeka, our definition for collecting these taxes was 8 rooms. State law is 2 rooms or more. And so we made that change also. And that was it. We have not changed the rates that we collect, the levy amount. We haven't increased anything. We just sort of drew a direct line to where the state was at to simplify things. So that's the short version. I don't know if either the city manager or legal wants to add anything to that.
Mary, you look good.
Legal, City Manager.
Go ahead, Mary.
No, nothing to add.
Okay.
Okay. There's nothing else to add in the report. What is the pleasure of the body?
Move approval.
Councilman Dobler moves the approval. Councilman Padilla seconds. Additional comments or questions on this item? Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. I have some of these in my district, of course, and I just want some clarification. I was not involved in this prior, and I see you want to vote tonight. The issue of where the line is between what is considered transient There are people that are renting rooms by the night, but even our big hotels are sometimes renting longer term, what might be considered a short-term stay, like 3 to 6 months. Some of them are renting out full-time. So I think I understand that the accommodations brokers would mean that, let's say you have a room in your own home, just one, but if you have another property, once you get to over 2, you have to pay it even on the one in your own home. I'm just trying to figure out who has to pay and if there's anybody that doesn't. Because sometimes we have workers that come to town and stay for 6 months or so. Are those rooms included? If you could just kind of run through that.
Chairman Duncan?
Someone.
Mary, go
My
ahead.
short answer would be no, but I'll let Mary. I think Mary has a better answer.
Mary?
Yeah, Councilmember Hiller, it only applies to sleeping rooms for guests who spend less than 28 consecutive days.
Okay. And
I
if
mean,
go ahead.
So, I mean, the hotels, the motels, the bed and breakfasts, I mean, they know who they are and they file their tax return monthly. So I mean, that was never an issue during our discussions about who should pay and who shouldn't pay. And accommodation
It has to be 2, Karen. It has to be 2 or more rooms in 1 or more locations. So 1 room does not qualify.
One
And
room
if you
does
have
not,
5
but if I
apartments, you
have,
have 5 houses with 1 room each, it would not qualify either.
Correct.
it would not.
Correct. It has to be 2 rooms or more in each location.
Correct.
Oh. Okay. 2 or more rooms in 1 or more locations. So that means then that if people, no matter whether you're a hotel or whether you have homes that are Airbnbs, if the people are staying more than 28 days, you're still not a landlord in a residential rental property, but you don't have to pay the transient guest tax on those rooms when somebody's been there more than 28 days.
Correct.
Okay. And that otherwise, whether it's your own home or others, there have to be more than 2 units in that. So the Airbnbs that are just where you rent the whole house would not ever count.
No, they're doing them by rooms, so they count also. So if I rent an Airbnb and it says that it has 3 rooms in that Airbnb, but I rent the whole thing, it qualifies.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's not bedrooms, it's rooms.
Rooms
Okay.
that you're renting, right?
Okay. Thank you so much.
Additional comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no additional comments or questions on this item, we proceed by voting.
Mayor Daley Isla. Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Agla,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser.
Yes.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the motion passes. At this point in time, we move on to the public comment. There is no public comment this evening. We move on to the announcements and we will start with the clerk.
The January 12th, 2021 agenda, there are 4 appointments. For the consent agenda, there are 2 ordinance expenditures. And for the action items, there is an ordinance for Topeka North American Legion Post 400, which is zoning item. And the second item is AFT supplemental agreement for zoo employees. And the non-action item is a discussion regarding East Topeka North Neighborhood Plan. And that concludes the January 12th agenda.
City manager announcements.
All right, thank you, Mayor. The first thing I want to do is thank the snow removal staff for their holiday New Year's Day cleanup that they did. They did a great job. The night crew was ready and started it, and the day crew went basically 12 hours and then turned it over to the night crew. Most of the clearing was done by around 5 o'clock in the afternoon of the main roads. In discussions with Jackie Vogel and Deputy Director, we decided not to do the residential streets based on the fact of this predicted higher temperatures for this week. And so far that's worked out. I think we've seen that most of it's melted away, and we may have a few trouble spots, and we address those as we need to. So the policy worked this time around. And, you know, I can promise you that in the future, as we have snow events, if it looks like it's going to be cold, we may go in and do those residential streets. But this time around, the decision was made to let Mother Nature do it for us instead of spending the overtime and effort to do that. The last item I have is, at this point right now, I'm expecting that the meetings of the governing body for January will be held as this, all virtual. And then as we see the numbers towards the end of January, we'll make a decision whether we go back to a hybrid version in February. We need to see what direction things go, but I think if everybody goes ahead and plans that the next 2 meetings will be held virtual, I think that's good for people to know. We have worked with staff, so we are ready in the future, if we have a public hearing, some modifications to our procedure that will allow those that may want to chime in on public hearings a little better opportunity to do so. That's all I have, Mayor.
I don't have anything other than to wish everybody a wonderful new year, a year of unity, of working together. There's a lot of good things happening. Today, the county set up the COVID vaccine clinic. Early in the morning, they had done like pros over 145 vaccinations. The hope is that every day there's going to be 500 vaccines administered. We're following the KDHE protocols. Instead of following the CDC guidelines, follow the state. We are in phase 1. I have gotten several messages of individuals in the community asking me when their turn is. We promise you that we will keep you abreast. We're making sure that we are following the proper protocol so that we're able to vaccinate first responders and medical personnel as well. So more of that to come. And with that, Councilman Padilla.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo what you said. Wish everybody welcome back to the council meetings. It was a nice little break that we had. But I want to thank the Topeka Fire Department for their work and quick response to the fire out there at White Lakes. I think they did an excellent job. And I also want to thank several local merchants who, seeing them work so hard, took food out there and drink out there to the firefighters to help them work in that cold weather. And I know that can't be fun when that water's freezing on you when you're trying to put out a fire. But I want to thank them for all their hard work there. It's truly appreciated. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Welcome back to everyone. I also want to extend my gratitude towards our fire department for the great work that they did And I hope that everybody is keeping up the good fight, washing their hands, staying away from others, and wearing a mask. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We've all been mentioning the firefighters. I do want to thank publicly some of the individuals. I was texting with Chief to make sure that if they needed anything that, to let us know. And his response was, we are good. Chick-fil-A provide breakfast for 45. Julie's supplied coffee. Qdoba is supplying lunch. And we're setting up dinners if we need them. And they also had a lot of support from law enforcement partners. So to all of the partners in the community that came together, our gratitude is to you. Councilman Dobler.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say a happy new year to everybody. Some council member that will speak after me pointed out that 2021 didn't have to be a great year. The bar's been set pretty low in 2020. And he may want to expound on that just a bit. Thank you.
Councilman Duncan.
Well, I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Lesser.
I'm good.
Councilwoman Hiller.
Well, face-to-face, Happy New Year, everyone, as well. And I, too, always appreciate it when the snow removal works well. And that has always been so controversial. And maybe we got lucky with the weather, but I thought they did a really great job. So shout out to everybody. Thank you.
Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick note to any folks from Oakland that may be watching. For the past 3 months, and actually before that, but the past three and a half months especially, we have been here in Oakland having ongoing issues with our Ash Pump Street station, and also some issues, not major, at the water treatment plant. There have been a series of phone calls, emails, and house, knocking on my door with concerns about the horrendous odor that neighbors across Oakland have been subjected to. And for those that are longstanding in Oakland, they have told me also that this is some of the worst smell that they have ever had to deal with. So through a series of emails and communications with utilities, there has been an increase in dioxide use, which I was told initially that was being cut back because of the cost. I will say, I'm grateful for that transparency. At the same time, with the terrible smell that many aren't, have not had to be subjected to, I think, trying to cut costs in that area is not the most proactive way to go about this for the citizens. We're looking at issues of, ferric chloride possibly being used to help stem the odor. We're looking at really big words that are being used about what is causing the odors to where you cannot go outside without being struck by it. The more mild days that we had during December, folks were not even able to really go out and sit on their porch and enjoy that because of the smell. So I'm really hoping that utilities keeps working with us. I do not believe that this is something that Oakland should have to deal with on an ongoing basis. We all understand, we that live here in Oakland, about the Ash, pump station, and that we're by a water treatment facility. But let's just be really honest. People should not be subjected to this. And I have growing concerns that I hope can stay within the city and not have to go further, to understand and make sure that I can tell constituents that the odors that they are being bombarded with, number one, are not hazardous, but also as utilities tries to stem the flow of the intense odor with these chemicals, that these long-term use of chemicals are not in any way dangerous to our community. Because please remember, we are a community that has two elementary schools in the close proximity. So I did want to thank utilities for being so prompt with their response, but I think that we need to do more digging. And I know that Oakland folks are wanting to call a community meeting about this because of the high level of concern. So thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Ortiz. Deputy Mayor.
I really didn't have anything, but in response to Councilman Dobler, I did try to set the bar very low this year, knowing that Mike would be the next deputy mayor. So hopefully I've set them up for success. And with that, that's all I had. Good night. Except the mayor looks like she's frozen. Well, Mayor, are you there?
Oh, there she goes.
I hear you coming in and out.
Mayor, I'm done.
Okay,
I think we
wonderful. I'm sorry, my connection is freezing, so forgive me because I'm like listening in and out to what you're saying. I'm like, huh? Okay, so at this point in time, we do have 2 executive sessions. The first session, if the city attorney could please read the parameters, and forgive me if my computer freezes again, and I'm not able to call for the vote.
The motion is to recess into executive session for a period of 20 minutes to discuss the status of employer-employee negotiations concerning AFT Zoo employees as justified by KSA 75-4319B3. To aid in the discussion, the following individuals should be present: members of the governing body, City Manager Brent Trout, Human Resources Director Jackie Russell, Financial and Administrative Services Director Jessica Lamondola, Budget Manager Steve Wade, Senior Assistant City Attorney Catherine Walter, and myself. No action is anticipated to be taken when the open meeting resumes.
You have heard the parameters. What is the pleasure of the governing body?
Take it, Tony.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Councilman Padilla seconds. We now proceed with the vote.
Mayor De La Isla,
Yes.
Council Members Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Alcala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Lesser.
Yes.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the motion carries. We will take a 5-minute recess before we start the meeting, and then we will enter into a 20-minute executive session. No action is expected to be taken. Thank you very much. All right, we are out of the first executive session. We have discussed our matter. No action has been taken. We are in need to enter into a second executive session. If the city attorney would read the parameters.
The motion is to recess into executive session for a period of 20 minutes to discuss attorney-client privilege matters as justified by KSA 75-4319B2. To aid in the discussion, the following individuals should be present: Members of the governing body, City Manager Brent Trout, Financial and Administrative Services Director Jessica Lamondola, Financial Advisor Jeff White, Bond Counsel Kevin Cowan, and myself. No action is anticipated to be taken when the open meeting resumes.
You said 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, members, I see Councilwoman Ortiz makes a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second by the Deputy Mayor. Additional comments or questions before we enter the executive session? Seeing none, we proceed with the vote. Councilwoman Hiller.
Yes.
I'm going to do it not in order, well, I'll do it in order of number. Councilwoman Cristina Valdivia.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Keep going because I froze.
In for.
Yes.
Okay, all the council members have voted yes.
Yes.
At this point in time, we will recess into executive session. Not to exceed 20 minutes. Fifteen minutes. Do we have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion by the Deputy Mayor, a second by Councilwoman Nager. We now proceed with the vote. I vote yes.
Yes.
Everybody
Yes.
just say yes if you can.
Yes.
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 Wonderful. It seems that it is unanimous. Any nays? Seeing none, we have Councilwoman Ortiz that says nay. At this point in time, we will recess into the executive session that we had started. Nah.
Mayor, that didn't go live.
Are we on now, Taylor?
Yes.
Sure. We finished the second executive session with no action being taken. Since there's no other things before us on our agenda, we are hereby adjourned.
Good
Good
job.
night. Good night.
Good night.